Hello and welcome to Big Bore Knife and Gear. Today we are going to talk about a custom knife. This is the Dsk Javelina, DSK for Dan Sullivan Knives. As you can see on here, the -T is for, I believe it's now tactical, so DSK Tactical Knives. This is the Javelina. Let's get this big chunky beast open. Man, I always do that. Big chunky beast open, get some specs on here, and we'll jump into the good and the bad on this. We got an overall length on this one of 8.4 inches. We got a handle length of 4.7 inches, blade length of 3.7 inches, blade thickness of 0.210 inches. We've got a 3.3 inch cutting edge. Blade shape on this, or blade design, I guess you'd call it, is kind of like a reverse tanto with all sorts of nice custom grinds on it. Blade seal on this is CPM 154. Blade handle and pocket clip, full titanium. Handle thickness on this is 0.64 inches. Handle thickness at clip is 0.92 inches. Deployment on this, obviously, single thumb stud. This thing is riding on bearings. This is a tip up right hand carry only, and this chunky little devil is coming in at 8.15 ounces. This is on loan from my buddy Kyle. I'll leave his information down in the description. I've been following DSK Knives for quite a while. I've had my eye on a lot of his stuff. So I was super stoked when I was able to get this in hand. So let's start with the handle. Let's close this up. It's got these beautifully sculpted titanium slabs. This is a big, thick knife. Wonderfully done. This is, I'd say tumbled, stone-washed, whatever you want to call it, finish to it. It does have some pretty nice jimping on the bottom here. Really helps lock your fingers in. Again, this is not a small knife. This thing is super thick, super chunky. This is, similar to like Medford's. This is built for hard use, and it's built for a lifetime of use. The blade on this has this beautifully oxidized finish to it. All these grinds just look fantastic on here. If I didn't mention it, the blade is hollow ground, so even though it is super thick and chunky here, it does come down relatively thin behind the edge. This thing is extremely sharp. This is just a tank of a knife. So if you guys are into big, beastie, hit it with the hammer and take down a house type of tool, this is one of those things. Finger choil is done very well. If you can see here, it's not just a standard circle that's kind of elongated and wrapped around. So, I mean, it's done extremely well. Really, really locks you in there. Wow. These are available still through Knife Center and some other places. He does standardized versions and then sends them out to those places. Typically $1,200–1,300 is what I've been seeing. This one is not just a production. I shouldn't say production, because they're all custom handmade by him. This one is from him to an individual, so a little bit different finishes, little different designs on the handle, as opposed to just something stock, if you will, that he sends out to like Knife Center. So, ergos, really good, with one exception, which we'll get into here shortly. Slicey, cutting, worked fantastic. I didn't do anything hard use with it because it's not mine. I did cut a couple pieces of cardboard, a couple sheets of paper, went through it like a knife and butter, no problems. The lock bar on this, done very well. Super chunky. If you can see here, it locks up about 40% of the blade. There is no lock bar insert, so it is titanium on steel. It doesn't have that titanium to steel stick, if you will. But since it is such a big chunky knife, the amount of pressure it takes to release the lock bar is kind of high. So as you can see here, just those few times it gets you a little bit until you build up a good callus. If I had the extra cash, I would probably get a Javelina. It's fantastic. The only drawback for me personally, and this is just me personally, is the clip. The clip functions perfectly. In and out of pocket very well for such a big, thick knife. As you can see here, great retention. The only thing for me is it creates a pretty good hot spot in my hand. I mean, look how thick that is. It adds another 0.3 inches to the handle thickness. So if I was to ever order one of these as a custom to my specs, I think what I would do is ask them to mill a pocket, shorten the thickness of the clip here, insert it into the pocket, and install it that way, so you don't have as much of that sticking out. Because, as you can see, in my size hand anyhow, especially in the normal grip as opposed to choked up. Choked up, it's not as bad, but in normal grip, this is pretty uncomfortable. It's not bad if you're using some light pressure, but this thing is made for hard, heavy use, which means you're really going to have a secure grip on this. And in doing so, it is very, very uncomfortable, only in this one spot. So that's my only gripe, and it's just a gripe. It's just my own personal preference. Had this knife been another 1.5 inches, 2 inches longer, it probably wouldn't be an issue. If the handle had been slightly shorter, or the clip moved maybe into a different position or inset, probably wouldn't be that big of an issue. But as it sits like this, it's pretty uncomfortable. Anyhow, that's all I got, folks. If you've seen or handled any DSK knives, I believe he's in Arizona. You can readily find him on Instagram, so you can check out some of his work. Again, I've been eyeing a lot of his knives. They look fantastic. I've heard a few things about him as an individual, that some good, some not so good, but some very good quality work coming out of there. Oh, and if I didn't mention it on this, the blade stop, if you can see down in here, you can't really see a blade stop. If you see that hole there, and the hole there, the blade itself actually has a channel cut through, and it rides, if you can see it right down in here, come on. It rides on a integral stop pin, so very cool design. I like that. It adds a ton of strength to it. Again, this is built for a lifetime of hard use. I'm sure most of this is stemming from his military background. If I remember correctly, he was a either former Marine or former Army. But yeah, what a great tool. Other than, for me, this clip. Anyhow, that's all I got. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, because I love the feedback. And until next time, take care.